Yes. Big ups to everyone here from the Liam raid. Or Vista City. Yes. Who have we got? We got AK4 Pete. Welcome to the stream. Formidable Centurions. Lila F. Yes. Big ups to everyone joining from Vista City's raid. Didn't know he's raiding. But hey, raids are appreciated. Always good. But anyway, today we are talking about Man City's season. Okay, I know it's not been great, and it's probably one of the last things you want to talk about, considering how poor it's been. But it's our duty as fans to go through it every single year, and really dive into where it all went wrong and whatnot. But yes, big ups. Thank you for the raid. This is City. Thank you for tuning in. So where do you want to begin? Okay, because I can begin with either the months or I can begin with the players individually. Okay, I've got my own personal list. I've written it all down on this notepad here. Okay, it's on this side. There's a bunch of writing, it's all written down, okay? And I'm really excited to talk about it in some way, It's going to be hard to look back at certain months, what I'm thinking about. But I'm ready, okay? I'm mentally prepped. But yes, big ups to everyone who is tuning in. Nice prep, lol. Yes. So to begin, you know what? Let's start with the players individually and the seasons that they've had for Man City. Why hard to look back? You got third worst season. Yeah, okay, but there are very specific months, Lila, that were awful. We had the worst form in the league at one stage. We had the worst form in the league, worse than Southampton. Anyway, let's dive straight over to here. Big up. So we're starting with Edison. Okay, we'll work our way down. I'm obviously not gonna talk about players that didn't really play. I'll touch on some that maybe cameoed, but we're obviously starting with Eddie. Eddie was in the squad 48 times and played 37 games, probably starting the bulk of them. He got 4 assists in his time and 4 yellows. Okay, we don't really look at that though. Now, for me, Eddie isn't the biggest problem this season. He's not the biggest issue out of Man City's issues. Was he great? No. Was he to his standards? Probably not. But was he like a disgrace to the badge? No. Okay. There are a lot more players that were a lot worse than Edison, to be honest. So for me, I've rated Eddie a 6.5. Okay, I've given Eddie a 6.5. To be fair, assists, pretty good. 4 assists for a keeper is very good and set a new record in the Premier League. Wild City after João Garcia. Shocking stuff. Yeah, he's got like a 25 million release clause. If we want to be cheapskates and dodge bits, then go in for that. But yeah, Edison, I'm giving him a 6.5. Okay, do I think it's time to move on? Probably. Get the right keeper. I'm not really a fan of Costa, so maybe stay clear of him. But João Garcia, he looks pretty solid. Chevalier, he doesn't look too bad either, but we're probably not going to get either. It's probably going to be Costa. But Edison, I'm giving him a 6.5. I thought this season wasn't bad. For Eddie, wasn't the worst. Now then, Ortega, okay, the keeper, second choice. Not going to lie, last season, I was saying that Ortega, I'm very confident with Ortega in goal, and he would suit well, and he does perfectly as a number 1. He's a number 1 choice keeper that we've got as our second keeper. I don't really have that feeling anymore. I feel like Ortega did drop off a bit this season. I felt like he's got weaknesses in his game a little bit. I do think he gets caught back in a little bit, and I'm giving him a 5. He wasn't awful, he wasn't terrible, but I'm giving him a 5 just because I do think he was below his own standards as well. I feel like the stuff he did last season for us, I don't think we really saw that much this season, especially in certain games. The Arsenal game for Ortega was not a good look. Big up Seven, who is tuning in, by the way. I do appreciate it. But anyway, away from the goalkeepers now, and on to Josko Vardiol. Me personally, I'm going to say it now, I think Vardiol is my man of the match. No, my man of the match. My player of the season. I think Vardiol was consistently performing week in, week out this season. He's one of our only defenders, if not the only defender, that hasn't gotten injured. He's been in the squad 56 times. He's played 53 matches. He's been absolutely crucial. He's been popping up with 6 goals. And you'll see that 6 goals is a lot more than you may think for us this season. Man of the match. Hey, he's probably had that a few times. But for me, I think he was even better than last season for himself. And was he perfect this season? No. Okay, he did have some little moments, okay, where I was like, oh, Vardy, what have you done there? I thought in the derby he had a moment where he could have done better. But overall, I think Vardy was very strong and was one of the players this season that can look back and tap himself on the back. Ruben Diaz. Available 43 games and played 41. I think Diaz dropped off a bit from his own personal level. I think interviews, okay, obviously Southampton interview wasn't great. But I also just think in general his game fell off a little bit. This season I didn't feel that brick wall that we had in, like, say, treble season and his first season. I didn't feel that kind of Ruben Diaz. This felt like Ruben Diaz that is solid, but not impossible. He had good games, of course, but overall, I don't think Diaz, to his own level, did himself justice, to be honest. So, I think I'm going to give Ruben Diaz a 5.5. Again, guys, let me know your ratings, okay? Maybe I'm talking, but if you guys disagree, or maybe you agree, or maybe you guys got a different opinion on it, then let me know. Now, Kusanov, okay? Of course, he hasn't played since March, 17 games available, 9 games played. I felt Kusanov came in as a player that has never played in the country before, doesn't know a word of the language when he joined, and his debut was against Chelsea. I think Kusanov came in and did a solid job. Every City fan was impressed with this guy. Even in the Chelsea game when he had his bad moments, after that, I feel like he grew into the game and was a lot better, a lot sturdier. Hi, FA Cup final defeat was shambolics, as truth is. You don't need to tell me twice, pal. But welcome to the chat, bro. Kusanov, I'm giving him a 7. Coming into the league, it's not an easy league to come into. And he did it to a decent level. Hopefully next season, when he hopefully knows English a bit better, and we know he's been working on that a lot as of late, hopefully he's going to be a bit more of an asset for us. Now, I'm going to do Ake and Stones together. I'm going to do Ake and Stones together now, because I think it's needed. Ake available for 28 games, played 18, and John Stones is available for 25 and played 20. Now, John Stones popped up with some big goals, okay, but on a whole, that is not where John Stones' season fell apart. 9 for me, though, 1 bad game, and 9 world-class game. I'm going to guess you on about Vardio. I was thinking that. I was so torn on Vardio on whether to give him 8, 8.5 or 9. But I can easily go for 9 because I genuinely think Josko is that brilliant. But for me, Ake and Stones, their issues lie here. their injuries. Only available for 28 games, and when you compare that to Vardiol, that's literally half the games. Ake was available for half of the season that Vardiol was. John Stone's not even that. When they played, they weren't awful, but I don't feel like they set the world on fire. I'm giving them both a 5. Oh, Kusanov. Okay, cool. Yeah, to be fair, I can get you 10 games, 1 bad game, 9 world-class games. Yeah, I can easily agree with that for Kusanov. Honestly, as long as it's above a 6 for Kusanov, I'm not going to fight anyone on it, because genuinely, what Kusanov did, coming to the league, and remember, he's like 2021, he's not, I don't think he's travelled an absolute bunch, and yeah, like you said, he got player of the month too. Who to blame for the FA Cup final loss? That comes down to a few things. Truth hurts, Pep, Haaland giving up that pen. I guess Marmoush were missing the pen, but it comes down to multiple factors. Now then, yeah, John Stones and Ake, I'm having to give them a 5 each, because I can't give anyone above a 6 for the injuries that they were getting. They kept getting injured was the big thing. Okay, if you pulled an ACL, nothing could be done. Okay, it's unlucky. But they kept getting injured. It may not be their fault, but I can't give them above a 6 for that. And then when they did play, they weren't exactly game-changing, so I'm going to give them a 5. Can we win Club World Cup? Maybe. It really depends on our business. We need Rangers before it. We need a right-back before it. Hopefully we can get Ainauri too, who I'll talk about on a stream tomorrow. But maybe. It really depends. Akanji. Now then, Akanji, available for a lot more games than Stones and Ake. A similar number to Diaz, in fact. But I'm giving him a 4 because I felt Akanji dropped off even more than Ruben Diaz. Last season, I felt Akanji was one of our better defenders. He was a defender who was consistently playing and was always dropping in a solid performance most games. But I felt Akanji really dropped off for me. It was a big drop-off in his quality, I felt, and I found the FA Cup final. He should have done better on Eze. And overall in the season, I just don't remember him. I don't remember my eyes glistening when I watched him. It was a shame to see Akanji at the level he was this season. For me, Akanji, he's got to go back to being that 5th choice. I've mentioned it before on previous streams, but he's got to go back to being 5th choice centre-back for me. Personally. He's got to go back to that. Just on John Stones. So, Vital Hayes, played 3 games. Solid from what he played. Hopefully we can see this guy a bit more next season. Wouldn't surprise me if he goes on loan. Kyle Walker. The lowest rating I've ever given on the channel was 0.5 before today. And I'm giving Walker a 0. I can't remember anything good this guy did. I'm not trying to be harsh, I hate to be this harsh, okay? But genuinely, the amount of goals Kyle Walker is at fault for, the off-the-pitch stuff, our captain of the club, and pulling in the stuff he was doing, nothing was looking good. And now not even AC Milan want him, bro. Genuinely, it was so bad from Kyle Walker. Hasn't wished KDB a happy farewell or anything either. That bridge is now burned in terms of his future at City. We know that he's not going to be here next season, which is good for us. Thank you for everything he's done, but this season, astonishingly poor. Now that completes the defenders, technically. Now on to Rodri. Look, Rodri is the case where you're out for the season injured, but you're a 6 out of 10 because he couldn't do anything on those injuries that he got. He couldn't. So I give Rodri a 6 because He was okay when he played, but it's hardly a rating. He was available for 6 games, so we're just going to gloss over that. Hopefully, next season nothing like this happens. Seriously, if it wasn't for Walker, we would have been in a title race. Think about Rodri 10. I don't care. So if I won the Ballon d'Or, think about every game we lost. Also, last season we would have got Centurion about him. I think we finished 5 points behind Liverpool without Walker. What about you? I think we're a lot closer. 5 points behind Liverpool isn't exactly miles away, by the way. It's like, what? How many points ahead of Liverpool are Liverpool? 13 points? 13 points ahead of us? That 20 minutes alone against Arsenal, Rodri gets 10. Fair enough. Now then, Bernardo, the recorded slowest player in the Premier League this season. A player that I think slows the game down too much at points this season. We need to get forward, and this guy just can't play a forward ball, it feels like. Now, he got 9 goal contributions, which isn't awful. That's pretty standard for Bernardo. But genuinely, him in that pivot, it was hard to watch at times. I know he's not a pivot player, but I've seen him play so much better in the pivot before today. And today was not a game. Today was not a season. This season was not a season to look back on fondly for Bernardo. Walker also destroyed team morale in December. He was biggest cause of 1 in 14, in my opinion. Absolutely. Some of the games he was playing, Bernardo was shocking, but to be fair, turned up in our big top 5 home games. I can agree with that. Bernardo near the end did step it up. Who did he score against? He scored against Bournemouth, which was obviously big to sealing top 5. I know Bournemouth are on the beaches and whatnot, but still, he's got to score it. And am I right in thinking he scored against Aston Villa? He did, didn't he? He did. So to be fair, 2 absolutely colossal games for us, season-defining games, and he turned up. So I can't look at him too badly, but on a whole of the season, I'm giving Walker a 4 out of 10. No, Bernardo a 4 out of 10. Do you think Walker at Bournemouth away is the worst performance of a City player the last 10 years? It's got to be up there. I think that is one of the games that you look back on and are like, that was a tough watch. By the way, big ups to the likes. By the way, we've got 12 likes on this stream. It's mad. Also, Chelsea home. Remember, he helped Kusanov. I appreciated that. And Akanji left him to dry. Yeah, you know what? I saw you put Akanji at 3. Just for those little things Bernardo did, I will put Akanji down to a 3. I can agree with that. So Bernardo, though, on a whole, a 4. Do you see the comp on him? Oh gosh. Yeah, Walker. There's a number of games this season that you can look at and just be like, ooh, Walker at Bournemouth away. Yeah, it was poor. I remember that offside line. I remember saying that wasn't on Walker, but then I remember seeing the replay and I was like, he's just broken the line entirely. Just broken it entirely. Couldn't do a thing right this season. Bournemouth away, he couldn't make a 5-yard pass. Yeah, that was so bad. It was so bad to watch. So bad. On to Nico Gonzalez, 6. I don't think he was bad whenever he played. I don't know what he's done to make Pep not like the look of him. Available for 21 games, featured 16 times, a £60 million player, and he didn't even play 10 games worth of minutes. I like the look of him. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't think he looks bad. He's gotten 2 goals as well, to be fair. Arsenal 1 made me angry because I thought we were going for the title. 2-2 Arsenal? Because it must have been 2-2 Arsenal. No way you thought. Wait, I'm trying to think of what the points would have been. Man City can't even say he had a better season than Arsenal because he lost the FA Cup final. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Nico Gonzalez out. I'm going number 6. I'm giving Nico Gonzalez a 6. Because I don't think he was bad. Walker mistakes in the Arsenal game. That was so bad. That was so awful. I remember it like clear as day. Gabriel Martinelli down his left-hand side, and he's just not on him. Partey cuts it back, and Calafiori scores. Corner. Okay, I remember it clear as day. I was so frustrated. Savinho was on the first corner. Okay, on Gabriel. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I was saying, get anyone else but Savinho on him. Okay, Gabriel goes and heads, and he misses it. Okay, I was saying that should be the wake-up call. Corner comes around a couple minutes later, and I see Savinho on him again. I'm like, oh my lord. Then Kyle Walker comes over and he's like, I got this, bro. Push him out of the way. And I'm like, good, thank you. Kyle Walker's on him. I thought Kyle Walker could at least deal with him, put him off the header. What does Gabriel go and do? Runs in the exact same kind of run he did against Savinho and goes and scores. I've never seen a player just get beat so easily. I've never seen it. But Kyle Walker opened my eyes to that. It was so poor to watch. Mateus Nunes. Look, ain't this guy just a roller coaster of a player? 4 goals, 10 assists. Probably one of the higher goal contributors, believe it or not. 4 goals, 1 assist, and it played a lot more minutes than he probably did last season. This was better than Nunes last season, is what I will say. He had a lot of Bozo moments, Nunes. Man United sticks out. Didn't have a great moment against Sporting Lisbon or Sporting CP. Multiple Bozo moments. But I've got to say, for a player that filled in at right back all season, a role that we have suffered with, he went there and he helped out. He stepped up to the plate, and midfielder filling in there. I can only compliment him for that. I'm giving him a 7. Near the end of the season, he was doing solid, really growing into that right back role. So I'm giving Nunes a 7. I really don't think he was that bad. He had some bad moments, no doubt, but I was really happy with how he picked himself up. And honestly, I don't want him to be Man City's first choice right back. But let's say we get Livramento. I don't mind him being the rotation if we need him to. Livramento playing a lot of games, but he gets a chance for a break. Sub on Mateus Nunes. And even if you want him to, you can even have him to challenge. I was really happy with Nunes, and I'm really happy with how he finished off the season. KDB, I'm not going to slander this guy. In terms of his own standards, probably, if we're being real, probably a 5. But on a whole, I'm not going to slander this guy. He's just left after 10 years. So big ups to Kevin De Bruyne. Hopefully he smashes it at Napoli, which way he's looking likely to go. Absolutely love the guy, and I hope he smashes it, and I think he can. Do remember I hated Nunes after the United game, but honestly he redeemed himself in fair play. Yeah, I remember he's in a lot of City fans' bad books, and to be fair, he earned that right, to be fair, being in those bad books. Yeah, but fair play Nunes, ended the season very well, so I'm happy with that. Kovacic, now then, start the season decent, obviously had that dip when Man City's whole squad kind of dipped, but I felt like he grew into it a little bit later on, popped up for some goals, and so I'm actually giving Kova a 7. He scored 7 goals and got 3 assists. 7 goals is a lot more than certain players in the squad, and he's in the midfield. That's more than anyone else that we spoke of up here, and I believe he's in top 5 scorers for City this season. So, fair play, Kova. I'm giving him a 7. It wasn't brilliant. So, yeah, I'll give Kovacic a 7. I'll give him a 6. He won as a crucial game versus Palace. Honestly, if he didn't put that free kick in, we lose that game 4-0, in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Give KDB what you want, because honestly, I'm not going to slander this guy in any shape or form, But yeah, that free kick, lovely way to get a nice goal for himself. But yeah, Kova, I pop him a 7. Plus KDB still created the most chances in our team. It's mad, isn't it? Kovacic 7.5. Can we spare a minute to call out some of these City clowns saying online Marmoush isn't good enough? I will speak about Marmoush very fondly in a minute. James McAtee. I'm giving him a 6. This guy probably should have played more. Okay, probably should have played sooner. Available 52 games. Played 27. Had about 10 minutes worth of football. 10 games worth of football. About 10 games and a half. Probably should have played more, James McAtee. He's probably got that quality. I don't think he's got it at City. I don't think it's going to happen at City. And I think a move in the summer is probably for the best. He was by no means bad, and I'm giving him a 6. Okay, some people might say, "Oh, you just gave over a 7 for getting 7 goals." McAtee, to be fair, got a hat trick against Salford, which does help with that. So I'm giving Macca a 7, a 6. I hope he smashes it wherever he goes. These people on Marmoush agenda slagging him off, got silenced by a hat-trick, and then came out of hiding after the FA Cup final, slagged him off, went into hiding after Tuesday, and now they are back out. Anyone that thinks Marmoush isn't a good player, I feel like we're not watching the same game. And I'll get into that. McAtee 5, disappointed, very disappointed. Yeah, I do feel like McAtee played enough football to impress me. I wasn't super impressed. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't fantastic. And so I'm giving him a 6. But I can understand the 5 shout. I've seen them on Twitter. I've seen loads of them. I do see them a bit. I'm not on Twitter like all the time. I'm on it a fair bit, but yeah, I have seen a couple of them, and yeah, it's just Ilkay Gundogan now. I give this guy 5. Now, I'd like to say fair play Gundo. Availability this season, the very top. To be fair, available 55 games and played 50 of them. 3 goals, 7 assists, the reverse of Kova. And so I don't think he was awful, Gundo, and I don't think he's the biggest problem. And I think once we sorted out our pivot, I think he benefited from that. I think he was good in certain games near the end of the season. Scored a lovely overhead kick, which I didn't have that in my thoughts for the season, to be fair. But hey, he was thinking when he did it. Let's be honest, not really had any memorable bad games since Jan. Yeah, I was thinking similar. So yeah, before January, it was hard to watch Gundo, but after that, felt like I was watching. Felt like I was watching not prime Gundo, obviously, but almost what I would feel a aging Gundo would look like. So yeah, I'll give him a 5.5 because I can't forget how he started. Nico Riley. I'm so glad we brought him back. If we didn't bring anyone back, we would have had no one. Think about how crazy that is and how the board is thinking. I don't get how we got to that point from the board, but man, genuinely insane. Nico Riley. This is what a player should look like. When you don't play an awful lot of football, but when you do play, you impress. Nico Riley got subbed on against Bournemouth to help out with the energy. And I think that was the game that really helped him. Subbed on and absolutely cooked. Nico. He was absolutely brilliant. Even against Plymouth, he was good, by the way. And so I'm giving him an 8. I'm giving Nico Riley an 8 out of 10. I think Nico Riley, for the time he had, this is what a player looks like when he impresses on the pitch. And he reaps the rewards. He's a midfielder, by the way, and he was playing at left back. He was doing a job at left back, similar to Nunes. Okay, but I feel like he just absolutely cooked when he went in there. And for an academy player breaking into the Prem like this, you can only compliment it. You really can. Fair play to Nico Riley. I think he's got a place in the squad next season, but we'll have to wait and see. I really like the look of him, though. I think he's a top player. Now then, leaving our midfielders, or our listed midfielders, and joining our main attackers. Starting with Erling Haaland, age 24. Available 48 games, only really missed games near the end of the season. Played 44, and in that time he got 31 goals and 4 assists. I give Haaland an 8. You know, for the season that we had as a club and the numbers he pulled, that's pretty good going. You know, that is still some really solid numbers from Erling Haaland. So I'm giving him an 8. You know, I thought he was very solid. Second best player behind Josko. I could agree with that. I think the only thing that lets him down a little bit is the games where he didn't have shooting boots on, and also giving up the penalty to Marmoush. I do pin that on him. At the end of the day, he's the pen taker, and he should be taking it. You know, it's his call. Who takes that pen? He has the right to give the ball to anyone, but it shouldn't matter. It should be him taking it. He is our pen taker, and he needs to know that. And so I give him an 8. You know, I was very impressed with Haaland to get the kind of numbers he has, to be fair. You know, 35 goal contributions in this team is some going. It's certainly not bad. Can't wait see how Nauri assisting him like Cancelo did. Haaland will really benefit from fullbacks, in my opinion. Haaland's best scoring form since City came was when he came to City is when we had fullbacks. Yeah, because it added that extra bit of creativity, didn't it? And having a player like Joao Cancelo that can whip in balls like that is only something that should be wanted from a team. So if Nauri can come in and replicate that and not bring the issues that Joao Cancelo did, then yeah, absolutely, let's go for it. But Haaland, yeah, an 8 out of 10. Phil Foden, to his own standards this season, I'm giving him... I think I'm giving Phil a 3.5. Phil Foden is a very talented player. He got 10 goals, 6 assists this season compared to the 36 he got last season, something like that. It's a shame this season. It was always about waiting for Phil Foden's form to finally hit, and then it just never did. Every City fan loves this guy, but this season has not been it for him. He's dropped off. I have all exactly the same as me. He's dropped off. Okay? If you didn't have that January, honestly, you get to 1. Yeah. It's a massive drop off from Phil. Am I done with him? No. And I want him at the club next season to try and prove that he can hit the levels that he was. I'm not asking have a 36 goal contribution season again, but 25 at least. I know you can do that. You know, this is his worst performing season for City in terms of goal contributions, and that includes when he broke into the first team properly in the 2021 season. You know, I think he got like 21 goal contributions then. You know, didn't even break 20. But can I just say, just to prove how poor this season has been from City, Phil Foden with 10 goals is our second top scorer. That's how poor it's been. That's how empty our wings have been. You know, 10 goals is enough to be City's second top scorer. The only other player to break double digits. So if you want to give Phil a pat on the back, give him that, I guess. But it really just shows. You doing Club World Cup 2 a.m. watch along? Yeah, I did similar in the blinking pre-season. So yeah, absolutely, we'll be there. We'll be there, fighting to stay awake. hit in January, but let's be honest, the Arsenal and Bruges game where he was just hopeless, destroyed him. Yeah, those weren't good games. Phil Foden, and the Arsenal game was really bad as well. Connect 10 goals as our second top scorer. This fan base is really against Rodrigo. Lad, now that we ain't getting Vert, we need to we need to go and get Rodrigo. Rodrigo is a very good player, okay, and I think he'd be open to it. He's not the star at Madrid. They just signed Trent. He'll be a face at Madrid this season. They've signed Mbappe. They've got Vinicius Jr. They've got Jude Bellingham. He's probably 5th or 4th in the pecking order in terms of the stars of the club. Is he really willing to let all that whole spotlight go when he could share a spotlight with Haaland? 24, 25 years old, I think he is. No better chance, no better time to make the move. Maybe ahead of the Club World Cup too. I don't think Real Madrid would say no, by the way. I don't think he's an off-limits player. Look, they're looking at Nico Williams from Athletic Bilbao. That's another player that Madrid might be in for that's operating that area. Arsenal leading the race for City's interested in me and literally moving like snails right now, letting our rivals guess at world-class players. Liverpool are about to have 3 players in the door, and they ain't even playing in the Club World Cup. Their season don't start until, and if you're counting pre-season, probably July. We need to bring in players before June 16th, and we ain't even got one. I don't even think we submitted a bid. We're only solidly linked with one player, being Rangers. Of course, we know players on our list like Ainauri and Livramento. We're very interested in those two, but the only player we're actually talking to right now is Rangers. We need to move. Bam, bam, bam. Get moving, Blues. Come on. Omar Marmoush. I give this guy 7.5. Adapting from the Bundesliga straight into the Prem. People got on his back initially, but at the end of the day, he got 8 goals, which is our 3rd top goal scorer, by the way, guys. 8 goals in 22 games. He almost got what Phil Foden did, and he didn't even play half the matches. Marmoush can only be complimented, I feel. Came in and did a great job. 8.5 is this is City. Honestly, I'm more than willing to bump up to that, because there is no doubt for me that Omar Marmoush came in and did a good job. Came in, did a great job. Puskas as well for me. Yeah. Unreal strike against Bournemouth. Shut up the haters. Hat-trick against Newcastle in a big game. And overall, solid performances all round. I'm impressed with Marmoush, and I can't wait to see this guy next season because he is going to cook. I genuinely can't wait to see him. Off the back of the season, he had Frankfurt. You brought that over to the Premier League, and he's just another threat for the league to watch. Jeremy Doku. I give him a 5 because, look, he got 15 goal contributions, which is higher than a lot of players in our squad. But he dropped off from last season, I felt. Failed to hit the goal contributions he got last season. And on a whole, I felt he was still inconsistent. This was meant to be the season for Doku that wingers have at City, where they struggle to adapt first season, hit it next season. This was Doku's next season, and he didn't hit it. Do I think we need to let him go? I wouldn't write it off, but I'm willing to give Doku one final ride. 3 goals from outside the box, by the way, that's what we need. Yeah, we should be taking long shots a bit more. I feel like we should. Specifically from players that can do it, by the way. From your Rodri kind of player, from your KDB, from your Marmoush, players that can do long shots, have one from time to time. Not blinking Ruben Diaz. Sorry, but I feel sorry for our attackers playing with Doku. How do they know what he's going to do? I don't think Doku knows what he's going to do himself. Doku's one of those players where he's either going to beat 3 men and he's going to make you a huge chance, or he's going to lose the ball and they're just right back on it. And again, you can't predict it. He's not an unbeatable player, and he's not bad on the ball. He's solid at dribbling. Don't get me wrong, but for me, he's not a player I can I put all my faith in, because genuinely, I'm just like, oh, what are you gonna do? IDK, but the goal versus Newcastle, the first one is so smooth. You know what I mean? Like, it's satisfying goal, lol. Is that the one where the ball goes over the top and he lobs the keeper? If it is, yeah, absolutely. Oh, Marmouche, what a player. Any people doubts of that guy, they need to just go watch him, bro. Genuinely. Actually watch him with your eyes. Savinho. Look, for a player adapting to the City squad, I don't think he did bad, okay? If he could just nail his shooting, okay, I think Savinho could have the same amount of goals as he does assists. And if he did, he's on 24 goal contributions, and suddenly people are hailing this guy for having a brilliant season. At the end of the day, I think he had like 13 goals, 13 assists at Girona. If he just gets this up, he needs to be confident with that shooting. Get that up, okay, and genuinely you could be brilliant. And do you know what he could also be if he gets his shooting sorted? He could be a winger that is threatening from both sides. We saw with left wing Savinho, he was brilliant at whipping in a ball, and right wing Savinho seems to be the Savinho who likes to shoot. I prefer him on left at the moment because I'm not worried about him missing shots. Because I'm more watching him whipping passes. But on the right wing, I'm just worried he's gonna waste chances. And so I'll give him a 6.5. I give Savinho 6.5 for a first season in the Premier League. It wasn't awful, and I thought it was all right, so I'll give him that. Also, it's good, and he's very good to link up with Erling. Yeah, he's building those relationships, which will hopefully help him. Man, blinking neck. You think I've blown it? Just gonna have a swig of my drink. Big ups for tuning in, everyone, by the way. I do appreciate it. It's been a bit of a longer one, but I'm fine with that. Grealish now. Do you agree with my left wing comment? I kind of feel bad for him because he was getting so good on the left wing and just never seen him play there since. How many times do we see that where we see that something works from Pep? He does something and it works, and he just drops it. Just stops doing it. No, I do think he can work out on the right wing if he just nails the shooting, because he gets in good positions, Savinho. He gets in good areas to shoot, but he just can't finish. So I genuinely think if he could just finish, he'd be so threatening on both wings. Jack Grealish, I'm giving him a 3. I feel it was a drop-off from last season, which was a drop-off from the treble season, and the fact that we are looking to loan this guy out is just baffling to me. If you want to keep him, keep him. We are not loaning out Jack Grealish. I refuse to believe it, but we probably are. I can't, man. I don't get it. I don't get the notion for loaning players that clearly aren't good enough. Jack Grealish, I don't think can do it at City. Not anymore. Okay? So I'm giving him a 3. I think Jack Grealish has had some glimpses of goodness this season, but he clearly can't do it. He clearly can't do it anymore. He had some good games. I felt before he got injured against Madrid, he was solid. In the FA Cup, he was good. But in the league, he was a ghost. So I'm having to give Grealish a 3, because I just don't think it was good. And that concludes my player ratings for the season. Just to run through what I did one last time. Just going to make sure I've got everything right. So, just to run through it once more. Edison, 6.5. Edison 6.5. Ortega 5. Vardiol with an 8.5 and is my player of the season. Ruben Diaz 5.5. Kusanov 7. Ake Stones 5. Akanji 3. Walker 0. Rico Lewis Rodri 6. Bernardo 4, Nico Gonzalez 6, Mateus Nunes 7, De Bruyne 5, Kovacic 7, McAtee 6, Gundo 6, no, 5.5, O'Reilly 8, Haaland 8, Foden 3.5, Doku 5, Savinho 6.5, Grealish 3, and Marmoush 7.5. His performance versus Forest and Madrid and Bournemouth were great, and that's it. Yeah. I like Jack Grealish, but I can't keep saying, oh, he's going to get back onto that level, that 6-month period he had in the treble season. I can't back that more, I was hoping last season he'd continue it. He didn't. I was thinking that this season's make or break, and he didn't do it. Make or break means it's either you make it or you break it. You go. And Marmoush 7.5 because he's going to be top. Loaning him out is stupid, never Phillips situation. What is the notion of loaning out players? It's not even just Phillips. Phillips, Grealish, Cancelo. I believe there's another player in there that I'm forgetting. Those are 3 players that we are just looking are looking to just loan out until what? Until we get no money for them? We're too busy not paying up money for players like Wirtz and whatnot, and we're ignoring opportunities to make blatant money on players like Grealish. Grealish, that's at least 30 million. Grealish at least 30 million. It's not the 100 million you spent on him, but it's 30. Phillips, take what you can get, man. Take 5, take 10, take what you can, because genuinely, something's better than nothing with that guy. Walker as well, another player we just loaned out. Get them gone permanently. Don't give teams a chance to be like, oh, I wish I didn't do that. Get them gone. Anyway, though, we're not done yet. Okay, we've still got a whole segment to go through. We're now jumping onto our monthly review, where we go through each month and we look at the games and the results, and we deem what we think. Now in here, I'm not counting this as pre-season, but we do play Chelsea anyway. I'm looking here onwards. So, look, me personally, yes, FIFA, big ups. How you doing? Me personally, I think this is a 9 out of 10 month. The Community Shield, is it silverware? Not really, but it's a nice thing to win. Okay, 2-0 win against Chelsea, perfect way to start. Nice 4-1 win against Ipswich, and a 3-1 win versus West Ham. Okay, for me that's a 9 out of 10 month. Okay, if we beat United with a bit more grace, dare I say it might be 10. If we just beat these United with a bit more grace, then I say it's a 10. But I'm going for 9. Now then, September, my bad. September was a 6 for me. One of only 2 teams to beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Crazy stuff. Wow, insane considering the season we had. I give September a 6. 3 draws and 2 wins. This was the season. This was the month where you actually saw a bit of worrying signs. Brentford wasn't convincing. Inter was just dead. City, Arsenal really exposed Kyle Walker, I feel, for the first time. Watford, it was Watford. We needed to win. Made it a bit harder than it should have been. And Newcastle was a game that I feel like a lot of City fans went into a bit worried about the result. I'm good. You? I'm good as well. Big ups. So, for me, this month's a 6. I don't think it's any more than that. Yes, Frost, how are you? September 4, we didn't have one good performance. Well, yeah, I suppose, but my logic is we went unbeaten and got 2 wins. Continued in the Carabao Cup, won here, and despite not having good performances, we stuck it out and showed top team stuff by managing to get results despite not winning. despite not playing well. I say getting results, and we drew 3 times, but still. So I'll give it a 6. Okay, I'll be generous. Yes, Ross, big ups. The more I look at the new kid, the more I actually start to like it, That's how I can tend to be with kids, I'm not going to lie. Now then, moving on to October. The month before it all came crashing down, as you might want to call it. Started with a nice 4-0 win against in the Champions League, a game we all thought we would win. Tense game against Fulham, which again was tough. If it wasn't for 2 big saves against Edison, we may have been in a bit more trouble. Last minute winner versus Wolves, absolute vibes. 5-0 win against Sparta Praha, as expected. Dead game versus Southampton, and the signs were really showing. And then crashing out the EFL Cup. Look, I would genuinely give October a 7. Despite some dodgy performances, it wasn't awful, and it was good to see the academy kids give Tottenham a proper run for their money. So I'll give October a 7. It wasn't awful. Losing in the EFL Cup, we lost it at a similar stage last season, so, it could have been worse, in my mind anyway. Turns out, it definitely could have been worse. A 2-1 defeat to Bournemouth that we were absolutely awful with. 4-1 defeat to Sporting that we were winning at a certain stage. A 2-1 defeat to Brighton that we were also winning at a certain stage. A 4-0 defeat at the Etihad to break our unbeaten record at the Etihad, which lasted about 2 years. And then bottling a 3-goal lead at the Etihad against Feyenoord in the Champions League and going winless for the month. This month is a 1 out of 10. Sorry, but I really want to take EFL Cup serious next season. I want to win it. Can we go negatives for November? I haven't. I've gone 1. You might be wondering, how on earth isn't it a 0? It would be a 0 if Feyenoord actually beat us. If Feyenoord beat us, we never recover. We never. November worst month in at least a decade. No wins and absolute bottle drops twice. It wasn't as bad in Sporting because at least they did it in a decent time zone of the game. There was 10 minutes left and we were winning against Brighton. Awful. Now then, we go to December. There's a few games in this month, so we've actually got to have a look at them here. 2-0 defeat to Liverpool at Anfield. I don't think this surprised many, considering we really set our standard in November and Liverpool were rolling. Now then, the game where we thought we're back. Great win against Forest, who were doing pretty good in the league at the time. Just to go and draw 2-2 at Selhurst Park. Then to go into the Champions League and not even try in Italy. Then to be winning at the Etihad in the derby for about 88 minutes and then concede 2 goals in 2 minutes. May as well have not turned up at Villa Park. That 1 goal does us a bit more justice than it probably should. How's it a 1? The draw was the impossible draw. I gave it a 1 just because imagine we actually lost. Imagine we actually lost. Everton, 1-1 draw at the Etihad again, and then a 2-0 away win against Leicester. I give December a 2. Still awful. This was the time that we just weren't surprised to be losing games now, and yet games still delivered sucker punches to us. Games that we don't expect to win, and yet we still felt the pain of losing them afterwards. Blinking heck. I'll frog in my throat. Hopefully go back in 2023. Wasn't that a good time? And then here we go. We're almost there. Now then. See my Feyenoord comment. I literally couldn't sleep after Feyenoord. I thought the football club was dead. What were you thinking after it? I couldn't believe it. It was pure shell shock of what happened. I just don't know how we get to that point. I don't know how you get so bad. I don't know how you bowl a 3-goal lead. You know, like, I couldn't believe it. It was pure, like, just, what have I just watched? We conceded 3 goals in, like, 15 minutes. Awful. Genuinely awful. And after the first one went in, you just had a feeling. You had an absolutely gutting feeling. But anyway, moving into January now. All blinking out. You just lost it completely. Moving into January. 4-1 against West Ham. Good win to start of the year. And 8-0 against Salford. City are back. Bottling a 2-0 win lead against Brentford. 6-0 win versus Ipswich. We're back. Bottling a 2-goal lead to PSG in brilliant fashion too, by the way. Man, imagine going 2-0 up on the 53rd minute and being at 2-2 on the 60th. Man, genuinely impressive stuff, boys. Yeah, bottle 2-0 leads. Nice win against Chelsea, 3-1. And a 3-1 win this Club Brugge. I would Spurs 4-0. January 5. I was thinking 5. That's what I've gotten down. You know, to bottle those 2 games was so bad. Yeah. This is just unlucky, by the way. You know, of all games to go to, that is rough, bro. That is really rough. Now then, you know what month is coming. We now hop into February. February, what a month, eh? Started fantastically, not with Arsenal humiliating us at the Emirates. A 5-1 defeat. We got absolutely battered. Heads went after Arsenal went 2-1 up. First half wasn't awful. We were still in it. Then Haaland equalises early in the second half. Then they go and score straight away because Phil Foden decides to give Partey an assist. And then from that point onwards, heads were gone. Just Arsenal all over us. Ethan Nwaneri scores a banger at the end. Miles Lewis-Skelly does the Haaland celebration. We just got humiliated. Just got absolutely humiliated. It was an awful way to start February. Now then, what better way to pick up after a game like that? Scrape a win against Leyton Orient in the FA Cup and get scored from the halfway line. Another hard watch, to be honest. You know, a lot harder than it should have been. Thank the Lord, KDB saved us there. But yeah, really difficult one to watch. Congrats, Kusanov, for getting a goal. February, I gave it a 4-2 as well on my list. But we went through nonetheless. Now then, bottled a 2-1 lead against Real Madrid with less than 10 minutes to go. Lovely 4-0 win against Newcastle. This was brilliant. You know, Marmoush hat-trick too. Didn't even try at the Bernabeu. Might as well have not turned up. Should have thrown me on the pitch. Scored by Liverpool at the Etihad. Huge win against Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Had ups and downs this month. You know, ups being Newcastle and Tottenham, I felt, and downs obviously being the Champions League and Liverpool and Arsenal. So, yeah, tough pill to take February, but we got through it. Now then, March. Much shorter month. Had an international break in between, if you remember. 3-1 win against Plymouth, where Nico Riley came on. Really gave us a hand. 1-0 defeat versus Forest. That just stunk. 2-2 draw against Brighton, which is silly too. Was it? Did we bottle a 2-goal lead again? No, we just bottled 2 leads. But yeah, 2 leads bottled. And then 2-1 win against Bournemouth. So, can't wait to play Sunderland, by the way. I'm so glad they came up over Sheffield. Yeah, same. Watching Sheffield come up again just gets a bit boring, mate. Just to get relegated instantly. But Bournemouth 2-1 win. Big game in the grand scheme of things, sending us through to Wembley, which is huge. But overall, not the greatest month, but we progressed in the FA Cup, which at the time was huge for silverware. Didn't get any wins in the league. I give it a 6 because we progressed through the cup, and Bournemouth was a difficult game, so fair play. And it was when we discovered Nico O'Reilly could really perform for us. Now then, on to April. March 6th. Yes, all right, man. We're going for banter. This is sissy. We're matching. Now then, 2-0 versus Leicester should happen, to be expected. Against a team that I don't think had scored since January at the time. Man United 0-0. Awful game. You know, if you were neutral and you watched that whole match, you've got way too much time on your hands because that was so bad. That was awful. It was just so dead. It was one of those games, man. You could tell from the first 5 minutes that game was going to be dead. Man City versus Crystal Palace. Man, the way that first half an hour was going, it was looking bleak. I'm just so glad that Palace just fell away and we picked it up thanks to a Kevin De Bruyne free kick. Great win though, 5-2. We take it. Good vibes. Everton 2-0. Huge win at Goodison Park. Huge win. You know, late goals. 84th minute Nico O'Reilly. 92nd minute Kova to seal the deal. Huge win in the grand scheme of things. Massive. You know, Goodison Park, difficult place to go. United game really ruins it. Yeah, I know. If it wasn't for that game, if we just got nicked the 1-0, we can really look back on this month fondly. Villa 2-1. Last minute winner from Mateus Nunes. Huge goal from him. Again, big goals in big games. And Bernardo scoring here too. Just huge wins this month. So fair play to the Blues pulling that off. That was one of the games I missed. Forest in the semi-finals, 2-0. You know, assuring win. Rico Lewis entering the midfield, absolutely cooked. And Josko Vardiol getting a lovely header in the box. Is it only me who's desperate to beat Arsenal and Liverpool? I want a big win against the Big Six. I do get what you mean. I don't mean against Tottenham who finished 17th. I don't mean against Chelsea because we tend to beat them a fair amount, to be fair. And of course I want to beat United in the derby, but I want to beat a proper rival. You know, didn't beat Arsenal. Didn't beat Arsenal or Liverpool last season, and we haven't this season. So, give me something, Blues. Give me something to smile about, and let us beat those guys. Let us humble those guys. Oh, man. Probably shouldn't speak too soon like that. But I get what you mean entirely. You know, we haven't beaten those guys since treble season, which is a harsh reality. But yeah, that concludes April. I give April a 7. Yeah, April solid month. And then a big month to end the months. That being May. Started with a big 1-0 win against Wolves. And then continued with an awful draw against Crystal Palace. No, against Southampton. And then it went to losing the FA Cup final. And then 2 nice wins to round it off to seal top 5. Top 5 sealed, but FA Cup lost. Look at that. Imagine Rangers and Rodri owning Vits at 2-0 Etihad win. That would be scenes. Things you'd love to see, wouldn't you? All on the Vits hate train. Oh man. Unacceptable 2 games, all on Pep. That's it. May 5, yeah, I've got that too. I've got May on 5 as well. Yeah, I agree. You know, a cup final lost. You know, that silverware gone. It would have been the perfect way to end off KDB's career. and drawing against Southampton, bottom of the league, one of the worst sides in Premier League history. Do you want to join the hate along? Do you want to join the bit hate along train? Oh man, hey, it depends how he does against us. If he stinks at the park against us every time he plays, I'll be on the party train. But if he starts cooking us, man, hatred, bro. Never liked him anyway. But May 5 out of 10. So just to run through all of the months: August 9 out of 10, September 6 out of 10, October 7 out of 10, November 1 out of 10, December 2 out of 10, January 5 out of 10, February 4 out of 10, March 6 out of 10, April 7 out of 10, and May 5 out of 10. That is it for Man City's games this season. We've been through them all. We even dared to speak about 1 in 14. And, it'd be funny. Gibbs White having a man of the match performance against him. Yeah, that would be scenes, lad. That would be scenes. Oh, man. Things you'd love to see. You'd love it. Now then, overall season rating. That time, eh? I do want to do something real quick. Just want to count up this. Sorry, just give me a sec. Probably should have done this sooner, but I'm doing it now. Now then, if I was basing this just off of games, our season would be a 5.2 out of 10, according to what I've rated the months. Because I gave all the months a 52 over 100 overall. But at the end of the day, we bottled. We didn't bottle the FA Cup final, but we lost the FA Cup final. We had some humiliating games, bottled multiple games, and players on a whole didn't have great seasons. If we won the FA Cup, it's a 6.5, and that final really would have really ruined what would have been an okay rating and acceptable for a bad season. I think this season is, just because of the standards that we broke for ourselves, and I don't mean in a top way. We went lower than I thought we could go this season. 1 in 14, 5-1 against Arsenal, 4-0 defeat at the Etihad, bottling a 3-goal lead at the Etihad, losing the cup final, and leaving the Champions League before even the round of 16. I'm going to give this season a 3. I just think I can't give it more than that. It was so bad this season, and I'm just glad it's over. I'm glad that we can move on from this now. We can start talking about next season after this stream. We can start talking about next season. Thank you. But seriously though, thank you for everyone that's tuned in this season. This season has been a roller coaster, not just for the club, but for the channel. The channel has gotten almost 1,000 subscribers since the beginning of the season, and if you told me that would happen, I would have shook your hand off at the beginning of the season. We're fighting for 1,500 at the moment. Every goal we hit is growth, and so I don't mind the rate that it happens. But thank you to everyone that's tuned in this season. It's been an absolute pleasure covering the vast majority of games. I know I missed a couple at the end for reasons out of my control, but next season we're going to continue as we left off. We're doing watch-alongs, new streams, more, every season I want to try and up it. Now then, what I will say is that next season could be going through a slight graphical change of the channel. Maybe a little rebrand. Now then, the logo's not going anywhere. It's too iconic. The yellow boat, the ball, and the curve of it. It's too much to leave behind. But it might just go through some slight alterations. I am thinking of switching it up a bit, but I'm going to run it all by viewers and whatnot. Going to do polls to see what thumbnail templates everyone likes the most. At the end of the day, as much as this is my channel, it's also your guys' channel, and I want people to see my channel and be like, I like how it looks. The only thing that won't be changing for a fact is the banner, because I really like that banner, and I changed it at some point this season. So big ups to everyone who tuned in this season. Every watch along has been an absolute privilege. There is a little bit more content coming for this season. Lol, can I steal that polls idea? Absolutely, go for it, bro. Absolutely. But yeah, thank you to everyone who tuned in. As much as it's been a bad season, it's been great for the channel, I feel, in terms of its growth, and I can't wait to go from strength to strength with everyone next season. Hopefully, we can do better next season, just like City. And yeah, on that note, I'll see you all tomorrow. Definitely live tomorrow. So yeah, big ups to you all, Blues. See you later.